Let's try your voice now. My name is Katniss Everdeen. I'm from District 12.
Unnecessary, over-the-top expositional line.
Jeremy hates exposition cliché.
Also, couldn't they start her out on something a little simpler? She can't f***ing talk.
Like what? I mean, does it really matter? Do you think this movie would be better if they made her say, "Hi, how are you?" instead?
We're going to test his response on someone he remembers from home.
Someone that will be a surprise to you and the audience.
And why is that a sin? Because he didn't say who it was? That's dumb, because you're basically asking for the writers to force Prim's name into a line of dialogue where it would be totally unnecessary.
Katniss doesn't have to wear a jumpsuit, but Prim, who moments earlier didn't have to wear a jumpsuit, is now wearing a jumpsuit. Did they roll out new outfits between the day that happened between the last film and this film?
There are obviously multiple different outfits that the nurses have to wear in different scenarios, and this is simply one of those outfits. I don't see the issue here.
I think Peeta's wearing the standard issue modesty leggings provided by this underground hospital.
Yeah, and what's the sin? Oh, Jeremy wants to see some Peeta dick.
This will they won't they with these two just needs to be a won't they, because they clearly don't want to dedicate any time to having Katniss's emotions toward Gale make any sense.
Any explanation? No? Cool. Anyways, Katniss has a very complicated set of emotions. She cares about Gale, but keeps getting frustrated with him in the context of the rebellion, and confused about her feelings for Peeta. Just because it's not black and white doesn't mean it makes no sense.
That's an application of the hummingbird trap.
This is why YA is so popular, because it lets teens fantasize that adults give a shit about their dumbass ideas.
And now you're just sinning the basis for YA stories? Look, I get that a lot of YA series are shit. I mean, this one certainly isn't perfect, but that's literally the basis for the genre. It's why it exists and why it's labeled as fiction.
I guess there are no rules anymore about what a person can do to another person.
This society killed children for sport. There were never any rules.
I'm fairly certain she was not only talking about the rebels, who were the people being killed, not the ones doing the killing, but she was also referring to the concept of morality that the rebellion is making her question.
This is the nut.
Jeremy acts like a middle school boy cliché.
Ah, the hologram, the make your movie look futuristic and stupid at the same time CGI crutch that, despite years and years of progress, never improves.
What is with CinemaSins and holograms? They always sin them for being stupid, and then never really give a legitimate reason. It's just weird.
We took heavy losses.
Gwendolyn Christie's acting specialty is showing up as a military commander for all of 4 minutes in blockbuster films.
Can you explain why this is a sin? Is it because you wanted her to have a larger role? 'Cause that's dumb. This movie is based on a book, and creating a new character specifically for Gwendolyn Christie to play would be stupid.
Your people have suffered more than just about anyone else at the hands of the Capitol.
Which is why I won't condone a mass suicide.
Also because they already did that at the dam in District 5.
Seriously, why is this a sin? He refuses to explain and just expects us to accept that it is somehow a mistake that the filmmakers made, but it's not.
Civilians in there.
In the underground, impossible to penetrate military compound? What the hell for?
Of course, you skipped over the part where they explain that the compound was originally a factory in which the civilians worked. Therefore, those civilians were just workers.
That's why I killed Cato. And he killed Thresh. And Thresh killed Chloe.
I can't even remember who any of these people are anymore. This may be more of a sin on me, but I don't have a sin counter, so.
You might not have a sin counter for yourself, but I do, motherfucker.
Cinna made her suit bulletproof, which is great. What's even better is that this wasn't a headshot.
Right, because marksmen are trained to aim at the chest area, not the head. Why are you sinning the movie for being realistic?
I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. These displays are the f***ing worst. They're the quality of an old CRT television, complete with analog tape tracking, but they are also slightly transparent.
Jeremy double dips cliché.
Toasted a glorious era coming to its bitter end.
Snow's poisoning game is so impeccably timed, Antonius was able to hear all of Snow's speech just before dying.
What you fail to understand is that President Snow has done this many times before and would therefore know how long the poison takes to work.
Also, the Capitol embraces the names, murdering tactics, and general decadence of the Roman Empire, but they are surprisingly short on orgies.
Jeremy wants to see some capital dick.
Send us out to that. Of course your costume would be bulletproof.
I would sure as hope so. This movie seems to imply that not everyone is wearing bulletproof clothing, which would be f***ing dumb, given that they're always going into active war zones.
That's not what this implies. It only implies that Cinna designed bulletproof clothing for Katniss.
All I know is that I would have saved myself a lot of suffering if I had just given that bread to the pig.
I know he's supposed to be all brainwashed against Katniss, but he's not wrong.
He kind of is, actually. I mean, without Katniss, he would have died in the Hunger Games.
As far as the soldiers know, you survived a bullet to the heart.
Because all the soldiers are idiots and can't assume that giant rigid plate she was wearing on her chest was bulletproof.
But you're missing the point. They're not saying that the soldiers weren't able to figure out her armor was bulletproof. They're simply pointing out that the figurehead of the revolution has survived a shooting and will give the soldiers that much more inspiration.
Wedding between two people I don't care about is about par for the course when it comes to all the weddings I witness.
Jeremy is a heartless bastard.
Everyone still has to wear janitor jumpsuits, except for Effie, who gets to wear her Lady Gaga outfits again.
Right, because District 13 is rewarding her for her work with Katniss and their team. If you would pay attention, you would realize how the leadership operates.
And even though this takes place in an entirely different universe than ours, the people of Panem still have to deal with folksy, rustic, chic weddings.
But why is that a sin? Seriously, how is the movie making a mistake by having this wedding go down like this? What the hell?
I guess I could just stay here and cover for you.
Only a few minutes earlier, she was lamenting about how much she didn't like Katniss, and now she's willing to assist her with her half-baked plan to kill President Snow.
And you continue to misunderstand characterization. Joanna is a little mentally unstable, dude. This is how her mind works.
Of all the things to survive whatever apocalypse resulted in Panem, I can't believe fiddle music was one of them.
Okay, but do you really think this movie would be better if they broke out some newly invented instrument that doesn't exist in the real world? Really?
Am I supposed to believe that Katniss was able to sneak into this giant armory from the living quarters and hop onto a cargo plane, all while being Katniss, one of the most recognizable people in all of Panem?
He says all of this while showing a clip with Katniss in disguise. People would most likely not look too closely at her, and seeing as she's covering a good portion of her face, it makes sense that nobody would recognize her.
Just so future dystopian dictators are aware, it's probably a good idea to build at least one other city to rule from. It's really hard to flee the capital when there's literally nowhere else to go.
You're failing to understand President Snow's character. He's not gonna flee the capital regardless of how many hideouts he might have. He's a dictator and he's not gonna submit to the rebels.
Her outfit is about 3 steps away from the fashion of Bill and Ted's reality, so I figure the Hunger Games have to happen before people start being excellent to one another.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche.
President Snow is building a minefield of traps.
The next thing she says isn't we have a giant map of it, so it will be very easy to avoid these traps.
Okay, but for all we know, this map isn't a one-to-one model of the trap layout. In fact, the movie explicitly tells us that they don't know about all of the traps because their spies were not able to cover all of them.
Because we don't want the game makers to know we have this intel. It has a self-destruct on it.
Yeah, but doesn't the fact that if you survive even a couple of those booby traps tell them that?
No, it's entirely possible for people, especially highly trained military operatives, to survive booby traps.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 76th Hunger Games.
If only. Do you know why you originally wanted to see the Hunger Games? It was because of the f***ing Hunger Games. Yeah, it was brutal and terrible, but it was a hell of a lot more fun than this revolution bullshit.
I mean, the overall story actually isn't that bad, especially for a YA series. The Revolution plotline really isn't that boring in my experience, but then again, it's Cinemasins we're talking about, so...
Didn't they blow up this dam in the last movie? I guess it's a different dam, but since I have no idea where the other dam was or why it was important, I reserve the right to claim the filmmakers didn't either.
Nope, you're just an idiot who refuses to pay attention. In the previous movie, it was explained that District 5 had a massive hydroelectric dam that provided electricity for the capital, but we saw the rebels blow it up, which decimated the capital's power grid. Maybe you should try paying attention to the movie you're watching.
Was that manufactured by Tiger Electronics?
Jeremy makes a weirdly obscure pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche.
Just out of frame, the cast of Maze Runner Scorch Trials is avoiding Wicked.
Stop with the pop culture references.
Hold it. Pollux tighter.
If they're going to film them shooting at the pods and use the footage for more propos, how is that not going to give away that they all know where the pods are?
Okay, the propos will tell the capital that the rebels know where some of the traps are, but they also still don't know all of them, and they're still going to have a difficult time infiltrating the capital.
Look, I get why the game makers made all these booby traps for the rebels to run through and everything, but I don't know why they made this obstacle course so sporting. This is war. You can make it super unfair if you want to.
Well, how would you do it? The capital placed highly deadly traps throughout the city that were meant to kill the rebels. I don't understand why you think they're easy to get through.
They want us to add him to the propo. Show that he's on our side now.
The rebel brass seem to care way more about making videos than formulating battle tactics.
Not only is that not true, but you somehow still don't get the point of the propaganda. District 13 is spurring the rebels in the other districts to keep fighting with inspirational propaganda, something that has literally happened in real-world history.
Friend, lover, victor, fiancé.
The cook, the thief, his wife, her lover.
God, just stop already.
This shit is stupid. I mean, yeah, it would kill you all right, but what about slamming a big metal gate down so they can't go any farther? Or bombs, or the dogs with bees in their mouths that shoot bees at you. Hell, if there's a possibility that the rebels were going to trigger this booby trap, I'd also booby trap the place where they were taking cover right now. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, the point of this specific booby trap is to get the rebels in the tightly enclosed space between these pillars and then have the guns easily mow them down.
Also, this Hunger Games is like the first scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, except it's basically the whole f***ing movie.
Jeremy makes another pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche.
Even after constant warnings about how there might be pods we don't know about, Boggs still decides to trust his little gizmo without any hesitation.
And what was he supposed to do? Crouch in that same position for the rest of the war? The squad is trying to infiltrate the capital, so Boggs is trying to keep them moving. Also, I'd like to take a moment to point out that the movie just showed us an explosive trap, but Jeremy gave a sin earlier for the Capitol not using explosive traps.
Where is this tar coming from?
The buildings? That was an easy answer.
Good of that overflowing river of oil to stop flowing right at this very spot, so that PETA can attack Katniss and neither of them dies.
But it doesn't stop flowing, you dumbass. It just hasn't reached this spot yet.
I think we're leaving teen dystopian future movie and heading towards a softcore Saw movie.
And why is that a sin? Care to explain?